Hello everyone, I'm seekingjess and I'm here with Eve. I'm super excited to have her on my YouTube channel. She's amazing, she's super inspirational. She does a lot of great things and I'm really happy to have you on my channel. Could you please present yourself and tell us what you're doing from day to day?
Okay, so my name is EVELINA, but people call me Eve. And I'm from Sweden originally, but I travel full time, so I live wherever I am at the moment.
How amazing is that?
So right now I'm in Barcelona, yes. Although I'm leaving tonight.
And she still found time to record a video with me, which is, I'm so grateful for this, because she's super busy, like constantly working.
So I travel full time and I try to learn more myself, but also spread awareness about sustainability, and I try to live as sustainably as possible. So this year, in the beginning of this year, I decided to quit flying when I saw how bad it is for the environment.
Okay. I know that you once mentioned it already in a conversation, but I didn't ask you about like the specifics, because we always think public transport is the better choice, so instead of taking a car by yourself, it's probably best to take the train, right? But like, what did you find out about flying that made you decide not to do it anymore?
Basically I found out just how bad it is. So I knew it was bad to fly, but I used to justify it to myself because I was vegan and I was eco-friendly in like every other aspect. But then I saw on numbers that if you fly like transatlantic, for example, a return ticket between Europe and the Americas, you have used up almost all, or at least half, of what you're supposed to use up in a whole year, including everything from your housing, the heating of your house, the food you buy, the clothes you buy, the water you use, and all the other transportation. So that's when I realized that by flying, I was one of the worst climate criminals there was. But I mean, I was using up as if we had a lot more planets than we do. So that's when I really realized how bad it was, that everything else I didn't really mean much, because just by flying I used up that like that, because I flew a lot because I was traveling full time, and I would travel to other continents.
But how do you do that now? Because you still like to travel, and so like, what are the alternatives, especially if you go overseas? So how do you do that?
Well, so I mean, now that from Europe, it's very easy to go to Asia. Because it's just, there's no ocean in between. So I went to Iran, for example, with just using buses and trains. And if you want to go...
How long did it take you?
So I didn't...
From where?
Yeah, so I started in Sweden, but I didn't go straight to Iran like as a way to get there as soon as possible. But I used that time to stop by on the way in different cities that I hadn't been before, or where friends lived. So my first stop was in Copenhagen, which is super close, and then I went to Köln, Frankfurt, Innsbruck, and then I went to Athens, and then I was offered like a super spontaneous sailing week in the Greek islands, so I did that. So it took me 3.5 weeks, but that was I think about 100 hours on actual transportation, which isn't that much when you think about how far away it is.
It's great, and I feel like it's again super inspirational, and I think in the future I would like to eventually do that as well. But for example, at the moment, like me personally, my first step into living a more sustainable life was or is veganism, and I just turned vegan. I mean, I call myself like recently. It was December, so how many months is it now? 10 months, and I'm still learning a lot. And and the more I learn about it, the more I actually see what kind of impact it has. How was it with you? Like, when did you turn vegan? And because you've mentioned it before, why did you turn vegan, and when, and how did it all work together with like the sustainable life?
So I went vegan about 3.5 years ago, and I did it. I went vegan because of cute pig videos on Facebook.
I feel you. I was the same.
That is legit. Like, I didn't watch documentaries. Cute pig videos, and also videos of how smart they are, and realizing that they're smarter than dogs. And also, one thing that I found out after that is really creepy is that they're so genetically close to us humans.
Oh, really?
That cannibals has said that human flesh tastes the most similar to pork.
That makes it like
and you
even
can take a pig heart into a human body.
Yeah.
They're so close to us.
Yeah.
So that. But yeah, so I became vegan for the animals. But then when when you become vegan, usually this whole world opens up that you didn't know existed. And that's also where I learned a lot about the environmental part of eating a plant-based diet. And I was like, oh well, that's a nice extra plus that I didn't really think of when I became vegan. But then I learned more, just partially because the climate change and everything. It's a topic that is going on constantly, and also a lot in the vegan community. So it was kind of hard not to listen to it, and I'm extremely steered by my values. So if something goes against my values, it is extremely hard for me to do it.
Like the flying thing.
Like the flying thing. I saw as soon as I saw numbers on how bad it was, I was like, okay, well, I cannot do this. This goes completely against my values. Okay, I'm not gonna do it. And then I made the decision, and then afterwards, I just started looking into how I could travel, because I still travel full time. So the only thing that has changed is that I travel in a slower pace, and I'm much more in the now and in this area rather than off away in different continents and countries all over the world. I'm just more here. So
you're enjoying more the moment that's actually happening, and you're not thinking too far ahead. I feel like most people do that. I do that as well, as I always try to plan. I always try to plan, okay, what's going to happen in a month? Where am I going to be in a month? Whereas I saw that with you, you're just like, I don't know when I'm going to leave Barcelona. Maybe Friday, maybe Saturday. I didn't book anything. I was like, are you serious? It's in 2 days. Like, what? That scares me out so much. But I find it so cool, because it opens up your mind a bit. It opens just the way you view the world, and not to look at it that seriously. I love that. So you became vegan, and then you became more sustainable, you said, right? And then you started traveling at the same time.
No, I started traveling 5 years ago.
Okay, but back then you weren't yet into sustainability and all of that stuff.
Well, I mean, as a person from Sweden, we're kind of a bit eco-friendly from the beginning, because recycling is so natural to us. We always do it. So it's always been there, but I learned so much more in depth of things that I've never considered before, like that fruits are flown in, and even like the flowers, like the tulips, that they're flown in. So
it's scary, how much. I mean, globalization, a lot of people say it's great, but at the same time is when you see the impact on the world. It's like, because we want to have fruits that are actually grown in Africa or Latin America. Do you do that? Like, do you try to be as local as possible wherever you are? That's really cool.
I do. It's pretty hard. It is one of the things that I do really try to get better at. Like, and as you said, like, the veganism is where you start, and it really is like you have to take steps. Like I didn't get here from just like bam. It's been steps, and I'm taking like new challenges. Like I recently did a 30-day plastic-free challenge, and now I can, and it actually went really well, like surprisingly well. And then I have some other, you know, issues that I want to get better at, like food waste. I want to get better at that. And I also want to get better at completely boycotting palm oil, which is tough because a lot of vegan food products, and not just like for eating, but you know, soaps and so many things has palm oil, and
it's so bad for the environment. No, I heard that a lot of vegans actually try to cut it out as well. So there's always like this conversation, like should vegans eat palm oil because
because it is hurting so many animals. So a lot of vegans say that you know, if you care about the animals, then you can't eat palm oil because it kills so many animals. And I understand that, but I also understand that everything is a journey, and it is really hard not just to learn new habits and a new way of eating, but you have to unlearn everything that you've learned your entire life. It's harder to unlearn something than to learn something new. So I try to just take it step by step.
That's the most important. It's a process. Like, don't beat yourself up for mistakes that you might do. You know, it's all a learning process, and you can't compare yourself. Like, it would be not clever for me to compare myself to you because you're so far. You know so much more than I do. So for me, it's still baby steps. But as long as you take them, I think it's the most important.
So it's a process, and you need to cut yourself some slack, because if you get too overwhelmed, you're gonna fail. You're not gonna get to where you want to. For some people, it works great because we all work in different ways. For some people, it's easy to just like that. And
it was like that for me with veganism, for example. I turned vegan from one day to the other. I saw stuff, I was like, I can't support this anymore. I'm vegan from one day to the other. And I usually am not a big fan of throwing away food, and I did not have a lot of animal products in my fridge. I either way gave it away to people. I was like, I know you eat that, you can have it, but I was like, I'm not gonna even put it into my mouth anymore, you know. And then there's other people that tell me like, oh yeah, how was the process, you know, if you are like, for example, completely just focused, or like your diet has a lot of meat and dairy and stuff naturally, that you're consuming, it's probably harder for you to make the transformation. So I think it's the most important thing to not beat yourself up in the process of, you know, and also with plastic. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Because I had this thing. I'm like meeting a lot of, you know, people that are telling me about how bad plastic is and all of this stuff. And I went to the ice cream place the other day, and I ordered ice cream in a cup, and she gives me this plastic spoon, and I look at the spoon. I was like, I did never think about that ever. Like, I just got the plastic spoon and I ate it. And this time I was like, do I actually want that plastic spoon? Like, I don't want to support this, you know. And I was already feeling guilty for just taking that. So.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's actually one of the examples I sometimes tell people. Like, if you're having ice cream and you don't want waste, just take the cone. So when we went for the ice cream, but so when we did. So, because we had the ice cream together, and so I took the cones, but they had the vegan cones, like, in plastic. Every single vegan cone was in a plastic package.
Yeah, wrapped in plastic,
so, you know, you can't beat yourself up. At least, you know, as long as you try, you're gonna learn. You're gonna make mistakes, but as long as you try to move in the right direction, it doesn't always matter how big that step is, because you learn, things get easier. Things that you might be struggling with today is gonna be a habit in the future.
But also with this kind of example of, you know, you doing it, you're showing it to other people, and then other people are gonna think about it. Hey, maybe this is actually wrong what I'm doing, and you know, so it's like a chain of how you can actually create more people thinking about it and trying to change their habits, because it's been so normal. If you go to the supermarket now, every single little thing is wrapped in plastic. And again, 2 weeks ago, I would buy it and I would think about it. I was like, okay, that's a lot of plastic, but that's just how it is, you know. And then I meet people that tell me, hey, it's possible to not live with that much plastic. And now I'm getting to the supermarket, I'm like, I don't know what to buy, like everything is in plastic, you know. But yeah, I don't know, it's fun. It's kind of fun as well because you challenge yourself, and now you open up your mind and you realize that there's so many different ways, you know, that you can actually do stuff and be better on this planet, be better to the planet. Yeah. So one thing that I really would like to talk to you about as well, you mentioned you do full-time traveling, and I feel like a lot of people would love to do what you're doing. I'm pretty sure you heard that a lot of times. I find it amazing. So basically, you just travel, you work with brands, right? You help them, or how does it work, and how did you get into it? And how would you say, like, how would you tell people to go for their dreams and go for, you know, what they believe in and for their passion, and not to sometimes think too much about life, I guess.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I guess that's one of the things that I've learned throughout these last few years. That is also part of why I am so relaxed and take every day as they come, because I've learned that you can't plan things because things change constantly, and you're not going to know what opportunities or events is going to happen in a month or two, or even tomorrow. Because the thing is, I didn't really go into this whole traveling thing and Instagram with the mindset that I would actually be able to make a living off of it and be able to, you know, inspire people to live a more sustainable life. I went on my first solo trip 5 years ago because the boyfriend I bought the trip for broke up with me. So I went.
How can you break up with her? I mean, come on. You better regret it.
Well, he did.
Here we are. I knew.
But anyways, so I went on that trip alone instead, and that's when I fell in love with like traveling alone, because I was like, I don't have to compromise about anything, and I just.
But it's scary though as well, no?
Well,
you kind of can't depend on, no? Because like I mean, when I think about it, if I would travel like to, I don't know, very, very far away by myself, the first thought I have is like, what if something happens? I can't depend on anyone, because if you have someone, you always have like this, you know, support, I would say.
Yeah.
You didn't think about that. You're just like, oh,
I mean, I started out pretty easy. Like my first trip was to Girona here in Spain, like super close to here.
Yeah.
I actually, so this was 5 years ago, so I did fly. I flew to the airport, and every single person on that plane went on buses to go to Barcelona, except for me and one of the pilots, and we actually went to Girona, where the airport was. So it was just this cute little old town, and you know, because we were going together, I had booked like a nice hotel. So I mean, I felt super safe there. And then my next trip went to Edinburgh in Scotland, and after that I went to like Cambridge, London.
And you were Instagramming everything, or how did it work?
Yeah, well, I mean, I had my private Instagram like anybody else, and I started traveling, and you know, you post the pictures usually that are, you know, fun to share. So when you're traveling, that's what you share. And after a while, I noticed that, because I would go like once a month, sometimes I even went like twice a month, I went somewhere. So there's a lot of flying. So I'm no saint. Like I've flown more than a lot of people do their entire lives, and I know that. I'm just trying to lower my impact as much as possible for the rest of my life.
You're already doing pretty amazing than most people do, so you should not, you know, think too much.
But just like, you know, because I know a lot of people look up to people, oh, they're doing so much, it's so hard for me. I used to be one of the worst people. So, you know, don't beat yourself up. All you can do is try to do your best today and from now on.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, I started out traveling within Europe, and would start to do like kind of shorter trips, and I would also couch surf. So I would stay with someone, and then, you know, I had locals who would show me around. So
that's a great tip.
Yeah, and I don't know. I never really did feel unsafe, but maybe it's because I very quickly realized that when you travel alone, you meet so many people. Either if you do couch surfing or if you stay in hostels, like you meet so many people. So, you know, it's actually not lonely to travel alone. I feel like it's even more social than if you go with someone, because then you're more dependent on each other. But if not, you're open and you meet so many new people. If you want to be alone when you're traveling, it's easy to just like not be social.
But back to my question of how it actually grew and how you got to.
Sorry.
Not a worry. It's super interesting, so I love listening to you know. But like how you got to where you are now.
Right. To the point. Yeah, so I started sharing all these pictures from my travels, and after a while, strangers started following me. I guess because, you know, I was a girl traveling alone, and I was traveling quite often, and I mean, it just kind of grew slowly. I mean, the first 2 years it grew really slow, but still had some strangers following me. And then 2 years into this traveling, I started having, you know, a couple of companies who would, you know, approach me, or at least talk to me, wanting to stay in contact, or even like
for you free stuff, you said, right?
Yeah. Like a free tour or something like that. Maybe that was actually 3 years in. Yeah, I mean, I traveled probably for almost 3 years until I started actually getting anything from it. So,
but that was also not your purpose, right? You were doing you were traveling because you were loving it. So that was kind of like an extra thing that all of a sudden, you know, appeared. And
exactly. And then, you know, after these 3 years, I just felt like I only went back to Sweden to work and to save money and wait until I could go on the next trip. And I just felt like life is too short to just wait for these small moments. I'm not happy with the kind of life to work Monday to Friday and, you know, stay in the same place and, you know, everything just the same. So I just felt like I gotta start traveling full time, because, you know, I only have now. And I said, you know, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll do work away, I'll do woofing or work in hostels, cafes, I'll clean toilets if I have to. I want to travel full time. So I told my boss at the time, which is also my dad, which is why I could use my vacation days more freely. And I told him, like, I'm gonna start traveling full time, so I will be working for about 5 or 6 more months. And I think it was like 1 week after that I got an email from a large company asking if I wanted to do freelance writing for them. So
you're like, that bye.
So, you know, I just went after my passion, and then I actually didn't start writing for them. I started writing for their competitors, because those are the ones I was using. So I started to do freelance writing for Skyscanner, and I did that for about a year. And during that time also my my Instagram would grow even more. And
because your name was on there as well, right?
Not from the writing though, because the writing was just for the Swedish page. Just organically from you know, just posting my picture from my travels. This might seem, I mean, some people might get inspired by this, and some might become almost like angry or something. But like, I've mostly been approached. So I haven't really gone after things. I've followed my passion. I've done what I love, and that has shown. So
I think that's the key takeaway from this, right? Just follow your passion, and people will come to you. It's like you don't have to force it, I would say, because sometimes people are a little lost and they don't really know what their passion is, and they don't know what to do. So they try many different things, and they keep failing on all the small things they want to do. whereas you, I feel like you just had such an open mind. You were like, whatever, what's gonna happen is gonna happen. I don't really care, and you went for it. And I mean, that's, I think, one of the best proofs for people to just get out there and do it. Don't think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people look at, you know, travel blogging and traveling full-time, digital nomad. I think a lot of people look at it like, oh, what a sweet life, I want to do that. And then they just try to look at the fast way, at a way to make money so they can do that, instead of actually like finding something that they love.
And the money doesn't matter. It's gonna eventually come to you.
Oh yeah, I haven't been able to live and travel only from like working on my Instagram until kind of now, like just like the last couple of months, because I would travel and then I would go back and work some at my old job, and then go back and live extremely cheap, like yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on what matters to you, because money has never really been something that
That attracted you.
Yeah, money is, I mean, as long as I have enough to be able to be on the move and to do what I do. I mean, I love staying in hostels. Even when I've been working on like press trips or with companies, I've almost asked to get put in a hostel instead of a hotel, because it's so lonely when you have your own room. Yeah. When you're in a hostel, you can at least, you know, meet people. And I also love, you know, staying with locals. And now I've made so many friends around the world that usually if I go somewhere, I have, you know, friends to stay with. So yeah, I mean, I don't really have any advice.
But personally, I think this is enough advice, because you're super authentic and you're just literally saying, you're saying the truth. You're not, you know, exaggerating, or you're not, you know, putting yourself down or in any way. You're just basically showing what, by following your passion, you can achieve. But then I also don't want this video to be like, okay, now tomorrow I follow my passion and I quit everything, you know. That's not how it works. Like,
yeah.
No.
Oh yeah, I can also mention I did all of this with having no savings. I don't recommend that, because it is
Oh, really?
It is stressful to be on another continent, not having savings and living from like paycheck to paycheck. It's stressful. Don't do it. Have savings just to like keep your mind at ease.
Yeah. All right, cool. I think we talked a lot about a lot of different things. I really liked it. Cool. So where can people find you?
So Instagram, Earthwanderess.
It's gonna be down below. I'm gonna link it.
And then my website, earthwanderess.com. And I also have a Facebook that I'm not too not
involved.
I don't use that too much. I actually don't have the Facebook app on my phone, because it used to take too much time, you know, scrolling and doing nothing. So I just deleted that, and now I have more free time.
That's what I did with Netflix. I was like, Netflix is taking so much of my time. I'm just gonna delete it, you know, whatever. Cool. All right. Thank you so much for being on my video. I'm pretty sure you loved. I mean, I loved it. I could listen to her all day long. And yeah, and I mean, people can follow you. I'm gonna put all the links down there. And if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. That would make me super happy. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye bye. So one thing that I really, really wanted to ask Eve is, what are her top 3 places that she has been to so far?
Okay, so in no particular order, because I can't choose a favorite place, but it's Slovenia, Iran, and New Zealand.
That's really cool. And why?
Because
it's very different,
reasons.
you know?
I guess for New Zealand and Slovenia, a lot of it is the nature. For Iran, it's also the nature is incredible, but mostly for the people.
That's really cool.